Hi, I'm Tanja Hayes. Let's learn some economics. Today we're going to take a look at consumer and producer surplus. So we start with our trusted diagram, the supply and the demand curve here on our price and quantity axes. And we are at equilibrium here where they cross, of course, we know that. Now, if we take a look at this demand curve, what's going on up here at this high price? Not much quantity is desired at that price, but there's someone who's willing to pay that price. And then as we go further and further down in the price, more and more people want to buy the thing, right? So let's say that someone goes to the store and they're buying a t-shirt and they're thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, I love this t-shirt. I would pay $20 for it. And they turn the label over and it's only $10. So they are going to buy it, right? Not only are they going to buy it, but they're going to feel like that's a good deal. That extra $10 that you don't have to pay, that's considered the consumer surplus. So whatever this price is that someone is willing to pay, compare that to what they had to pay, and that distance is the consumer surplus for that one person. And then you can keep going because then the next person would have been willing to pay this much, but they only have to pay the equilibrium price. So that amount is their consumer surplus. And then we keep going and we add up all of these consumer surpluses for each of these people, and the area of this shaded triangle here is the whole consumer surplus for everyone. So consumer surplus is defined as whatever is below the demand curve, down to the price, and out to that quantity. So that means in this case it is a triangle, and this is our consumer surplus, CS. And if we were given numbers here, we could even calculate how much consumer surplus, because we could calculate the area of a triangle using 1/2 times base times height. So if we knew these numbers, we could do that. But right now we're just going a little theoretical. And then on the flip side, if we look at the supply curve, what's going on down here? Not very many people or very many units would be sold at this low price, but there are some people that are willing to sell it for that price. But instead, they're able to sell it for the equilibrium price. So they have this much of what's called producer surplus. So it's kind of the distance or the difference between what they would have been willing to pay and what they actually were able to sell it for. So for them, we're looking at this distance below. And we do that again for every single producer, and we find this whole triangle. I want to shade it slightly differently, but basically we're getting this whole triangle between the supply curve and the price and out to that quantity. And that triangle is our producer surplus. Producer surplus. And we can also add the two together, and that would be called total surplus, or in some textbooks they would be called economic surplus. Point being that we can just add them together, and this whole huge triangle is the total surplus that everyone is experiencing when we're at this equilibrium point here. Now, what if we were not at equilibrium? So let's say that instead of being at this quantity, we were at some quantity that was a little bit less than that. So maybe we're here. Call it Q, I don't know, Q star, why not? So if we were at that quantity, we would be missing out on these opportunities. These units would not be bought and sold, which means that this consumer and producer surplus would not be happening. And so we could take a look at that triangle that gets formed, and it is lost consumer and producer surplus, and that has its own term, which is deadweight loss. So that little area of lost consumer and producer surplus is what we call deadweight loss. And so that's how we go about finding all these different pieces. And again, if we had numbers, we could even calculate the area of this triangle because we can deal with triangles. That's going to be all for now. See you soon.